All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm finishing the last of my setup. I got to you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, just like always, because I'm always a little bit late, right? Always at least a little bit, but got to get this shit set up. We need good recordings. You know, if you guys have noticed, we've actually started cutting the weekly live streams and putting them up onto YouTube so that people can watch them as clips. But unfortunately, the video quality for those from the screen recordings is dog shit. So I'm trying to set the camera up so that it can record it at a better quality and we can actually have, not awful recordings to use. But it's a bit of a pain. All right, there we go. Now, officially, you have to wait for it. Okay, and now we're starting. All right. There we go. Oh, okay. Lighting looks good. Visuals look good. All right. Welcome, boys. Oh, let me get the chat box up here so I can see you guys talking. Beautiful. That looks terrible there. Can we? Is that better? Bit. That'll do. All right. There we go. All right, I see people getting in here. Good. Good news. Hey, we've got some friends today. Good. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the very best part of everybody's week. It's Live with Jack, and today in Live with Jack number 105, I'm going to be teaching you about how I engineered the perfect short-term relationship so that you can follow in my footsteps and do the same. But if you would like to truly enjoy today's live stream to the fullest, if you would like to reach the height of humanity, the culmination of all of civilization, then all you need to do is grab your glass, your mug, or your flask, a chalice, a stein, or even a cask. Raise it high and let's make a splash. It's time now for our libation bash. Toast the night and enjoy the mood. Together now we drink some booze. On your mark, let's not wait. It's cheers with chaps, so don't be late. Cheers. Oh, magnificent. Now, let's jump right into it. Years ago, actually, over a decade ago, if we're being precise, but really, who's counting at this point? When younger and skinnier Jack, and much more single Jack, was out in the world on the hunt for women. One summer, he decided to go to a beach party. And there at this beach party, outside of Seoul, out on I think it was on the west coast of Korea, I made a lot of friends. I met a lot of girls. I drank a lot of beer. But one of them I really connected with well, let's say. And whenever we came back to Seoul on the bus together, then we decided to keep things going. Now, I could tell from the get-go exactly what this was. And this was a perfect short-term relationship. So today I'm going to be telling you the story of how I met, let's call her Jay. How I met Jay and how I created a perfect short-term relationship. How I was able to identify exactly who she was, how that was useful to me, how I was able to turn that into a short-term relationship, how I was able to keep it going, have a great time during it, and most importantly, how we were able to end it on good terms. So let's jump straight into it. Chapter 1, keeping it casual. The first thing that you need to understand before we can get into any of the other stuff is that in your life, there's a time and a season for different types of relationships. Where I am now, where I'm a bit older, a bit more serious, a bit more settled down, now is a great time for a serious long-term relationship, right? But when I was much younger, when I was more active, when I was less stable in my life, when I didn't know what the next year would bring, if I was going to stay in Korea, if I was going to move back to America, or maybe move to another country altogether. At that point, a serious long-term relationship would have been, honestly, not a very good idea, but also would have been somewhat unfair to the girl as well. So that's a good time for a more casual, short-term relationship or a fling. Now, before we get into this, let me quickly define for you what I mean whenever I say short-term relationship. When I say short-term relationship, I'm talking about something that is agreed to be monogamous, whether that's explicitly stated or it's implied. Either way, it's agreed to be monogamous, and it's usually 3 months long or less. These are your short-term relationships. These are your flings. Flings are a bit shorter than that, usually like a week or less, maybe a couple of weeks in some situations. But what I'm talking about here are short-term relationships. So they go for a little bit. If I had met Jay that weekend and we just hooked up once and then never saw each other again, that would be a one-night stand. If we'd hooked up and then gone back to Seoul and kept hooking up for about a week and then never saw each other again, it would be a fling. But instead, we had a short-term relationship. Now, this, we explicitly stated, was a monogamous relationship, meaning that we called each other boyfriend and girlfriend. But we both knew exactly what it was from the get-go. We knew that it wasn't serious. We knew that it was something casual. It was fun. And as we're going to talk about in a little bit, it was mostly physical. However, whenever you find yourself at that point in your life and you want to find something like this, a short-term relationship, then you need to first understand how to enjoy these relationships without so much attachment. One of the mistakes that I made whenever I was younger, like before Jay, right? So before I had the perfect short-term relationship, before I figured any of that stuff out and I didn't know what I was doing, then I would meet girls and we would hook up and hang out for a week or so. But I would get really attached and I would get really into, oh no, that's what it is. Okay. Sorry. The light was in front of the camera. That's why it was so weird there. Okay. So when I was younger and where was I? I totally lost my train of thought. Right. While I was still trying to figure it out, before I figured out how to actually make a good short-term relationship, I would meet these girls and I would hook up and I would hang out for a little bit with them and we'd date for a month, maybe 2 months or something. And I would get really attached. I would get really into them. Sometimes I would even drop those L-bombs early on in the relationship. You cannot be doing that in these types of relationships. Instead, what you need to do is understand what they are from the get-go, accept them for what they are, and enjoy them for what they are, because they can be wonderful. They can be really, really nice, a ton of fun, and you can get to know someone on a deep and personal level without having to go as deep as you do in a serious, long-term, committed, monogamous relationship. So once you learn how to enjoy somebody else's company and enjoy that time together, that relationship, without having to create that deep attachment, or even worse, without feeling like you need to fake that deep attachment, learning the difference between love and lust, learning the difference between, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you, to like, oh, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. The difference between those, especially when you're young, is very, very hard to see. But once you learn how to enjoy people's company and relationships without that level of attachment, then you can really learn how to create the perfect casual relationship. Now, the next thing you need to consider is the right type of girl. So the right type for right now. In this particular situation, whatever your situation is, maybe you're young and you just honestly don't know what you're going to be doing. Maybe you're unstable. Maybe you can't feel like you're being tied down at the moment. Maybe you're traveling, or maybe you meet somebody else who's traveling, or maybe you're planning on moving soon, or they're planning on moving soon. These can all be situations where a short-term relationship really shines. Now, if you meet her and that's her situation, then you kind of have to just go with whatever her type is, right? But if you are looking for a short-term relationship because it's you in one of those situations, then you need to be looking for the right type for that kind of relationship. As I'm sure you can guess, some of the more long-term relationship-minded girls, like the prudes or the shy girls, or even the friend type to some extent, and definitely husband hunters, you'll want to skip them for these types of relationships. While you can have short-term relationships and flings with these types of girls, it's generally inadvisable unless, like I said, it's her who has some kind of limiting situation. Like she's traveling here for 2 weeks, she just wants a travel boyfriend. Okay, fine. In that case, all bets are off regarding the type. You found the perfect situation. Great. But if you're out looking for somebody to match with you for these short-term relationships, you really want to be looking for some of the more adventurous types of girls. The two that actually come to mind, and a lot of you guys are going to recoil at this suggestion, but hear me out. The two types that come to my mind as the best fit for a short-term relationship like this would actually be the crazed lover and the cheater. Now, I can hear some of you guys saying, what, Jack, the cheater? No, never, no, I hate the cheater. Oh, yeah, I know. But you don't know the cheater. You probably didn't even read about her or watch about her or listen about her because the name itself turns you off. Yeah, of course, I chose the most salacious part of her personality for the name because it's more interesting and it is a key factor to her personality. But let me tell you something about the cheater. Do you know what drives her? It's not actually sex. That's what drives the slut. What drives the cheater is the need for newness and excitement and adventure and feeling that adrenaline rush of something new, something taboo even. And that's what actually drives the cheater to cheat. But if you're in a short-term relationship, 3 months or less, then it's still going to feel new and exciting that whole time. She's not going to be out cheating because you're giving her the newness. So picking the right type of girl for the right time in your life, for right now, for the right relationship is going to be very important here to create the perfect short-term relationship. Now, the last thing you need to do is you need to understand what casual means. Casual means a few things for sure. It definitely means that there's going to be physical intimacy involved a lot, and we're going to get more into that later. But one of the other things that it means, and this is a big one, is it means that you don't owe each other anything. There's no guarantee of tomorrow, but also there's no need to invest in things now for tomorrow. So you don't need to go to like family functions, and you don't need to invite her to your best friend's cousin's wedding or whatever else, unless you just want to. If it's something you both want to do, then fine, no problem. But there's no need to actually do things that you don't want to do. Like often in a long-term relationship, you'll be expected to be the partner who accompanies her or she accompanies you to certain activities or to certain events that maybe you don't really want to go to or she doesn't really want to go to. And that's a compromise that you have to make because you're both doing it for each other. But in these short-term relationships, a lot of that is off the table. It's a lot cooler. It's a lot calmer. It's a lot more casual. You definitely don't need to be sending good morning messages or how was your day or anything like that. This can be kept very casual. In fact, a good short-term relationship, you guys might talk through messages once a day. Maybe once every other day, something like that. Maybe only when you're planning dates and hangouts. There's no expectation from either of you to do anything above and beyond what you feel like doing. And that's a great thing in certain situations. So if all of that sounds good and that sounds like you want this kind of relationship, then listen on as I go through the rest of my story. So with Jay, whenever we got back to Seoul, like I said, we decided to keep meeting. We decided to keep hanging out. Turns out she lived right near where I was working at the time. So I would sometimes swing by there for lunch, we'd have lunch together. If I finished work, then I would come over, we'd hang out there. Sometimes I'd crash there. We'd go out drinking in that neighborhood, hang out, maybe hang out with her friends, get drunk, go back to her place and just chill out there. And we spent a lot of time together for these 2 months. So much time, in fact, that it kind of burned everything out very quickly. But that was not by accident. That was very intentional. Because you see, whenever you have a short-term relationship and you realize that all of these things have aligned, you've met this type of girl, you understand the situation, you both know what it is, there's no expectation of anything more, then basically what you get to do is you get to enjoy the full honeymoon phase of a relationship, but without any of the fallout on the back end. You don't have any of the commitments. You don't have any of the what do you call it? The shit where you owe somebody, no debts, no personal debts or anything like that. You don't have any expectations from one another that things will happen in the future or that you will do things together in the future. You're not trying to build memories or build a life together. You're not trying to change one another. You're simply accepting this situation for what it is, which is great. But it also means that you're going to drive each other crazy, and that's okay. Now, in this particular situation with Jay, because I met her in the summertime, and when we were traveling, we had decided to travel together as well. And so throughout that summer, we took several trips together. And during the week, we also spent a lot of time together. So we were hanging out, probably about 4 days a week, sometimes more than that, which is a lot of fun. But also remember that the brightest stars burn out the fastest. Now, with that in mind, let's go back to this and let me explain to you how you can make the most of it in your short-term relationship and give you the understanding of what I just told you in story form. So the first thing that you need to understand is that you're constantly living in the moment. You need to be doing fun things and things that both of you want to be doing. So whatever it is that brought the two of you together or whatever you have in common, you should just double, triple, quadruple down on that thing over and over and over again. The whole point here of this type of relationship is, like I said earlier, not to build memories together that will last a lifetime, stories that you can tell your grandkids, nothing like that. Actually, what you want is you want somebody who is a fun and enjoyable partner to share an experience with. Not necessarily somebody who you're going to be able to return to that memory forever and ever, but just, I wanted to do this thing and it would be better to do it with somebody cool than to do it alone. Oh, you also want to do this thing and it would be better to do it with somebody cool than to do it alone. Perfect. Our goals are aligned. We're going to do these things together, and then we're both going to be able to enjoy it that much more. You're constantly doing things. So in our case, that was traveling. In our case, that was drinking and partying and talking to people, making new friends. That was playing music in bars and doing sing-alongs and things like that. Stuff that we both enjoyed doing, but we did it a lot because you need to burn bright and burn fast. When you find yourself in these kinds of short-term relationships, whether they have a set expiration date or you just know what it is based on the type, based on the timing, based on the level of attachment and commitment so far, you know that this is not a serious long-term thing, then you should be making the most out of this long-term honeymoon phase while you can, because it will die down and it will calm down and it will get less fun and less exciting. So for the time that you do have, while everything is fresh and new and amazing and wonderful, you should be going hard at it. You should be going all in on it. And that's actually going to help you more than anything, because first of all, you get to enjoy more things together and do more stuff together. But second, and this is just as important, it makes it clear to both of you that it wouldn't actually work as a serious long-term relationship. This relationship only works because it's a short-term relationship with no commitment, with no guarantees, with no debts to the future. So whenever you find yourself in this situation, go all in. because you want to make it abundantly clear to both of you what it is, whether you specifically say it outright or not. Now, the next thing to pay attention to is that you want to avoid relationship creep. This is something that can happen naturally, especially in these relationships that feel really strong at first, and they feel very, very intense for a while. Whenever you feel that, when it's not a slow growth, when it's not steady, whenever it's just basically the relationship version of a get rich quick scheme, of a pump and dump, that kind of thing, you're going to be tempted, and she's going to be tempted, and you're going to feel this thing of like, yeah, but maybe we could, maybe it is real, maybe it is serious. It's not, right? It's not. Enjoy it for what it is, but you need to be careful that you don't start letting the relationship turn into more and more and more, that you don't let it expand outward and become something that it was never meant to be in the first place. That can be very dangerous, and it can really wreck your chances of being able to have a graceful goodbye at the end. So this is why it's so important to understand from the get-go what the relationship is, who this type of girl is, what it is that you're both giving to each other, and you need to have clear boundaries and expectations. Now, in these shorter relationships, in these less serious relationships, you don't necessarily have to say it out loud or explicitly. You don't have to tell her, this is what I expect from you, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. It doesn't have to be that direct. However, what you can do is you can have assumed expectations, and then if somebody starts to cross them, say, wait, hold on. That's not what this is. Okay, let's just chill out, right? It's cool. We're having a great time. I'm not upset, but also this isn't that kind of relationship. Okay, cool. You set the boundary when they get to it, because there's no need to bring relationship contracts into this when you're just having fun together. So enjoy it, but you need to know ahead of time what your boundaries are. Because if you find yourself in a situation where she's asking you something and you don't know the answer, where she says, so are you my boyfriend? Am I your girlfriend? So we're going, my cousin is getting married next week and I think we should go together. Are you going to come with me? Oh, for fuck's sake. If you don't already know the answer to that question, you're going to default to yes, because you're like, yeah, well, but she plays with my willy, so I don't want to say no, right? You need to know the answer to that question before she asks it. You need to know where your boundaries are, and you need to actually just enforce them. Not in a harsh way, not in a mean way, not like an asshole, but just say, oh, no, you know what? Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable being in your cousin's wedding pictures till the end of time because you and I were just banging one summer. Like, let's hold off on that for now, right? I don't feel like this is that kind of relationship. And be real about it. Be honest about it. There's nothing wrong with that. You just need to know your boundaries, and then you need to enforce them. So, like I said, you need to be going all in on this relationship, having the most fun you can, going deep with it, burning bright, burning hard, and enjoying that full honeymoon period of a relationship with none of the back end commitments or hassle. Now, our next section, the physical connection. When I first met Jay, there was an instant physical attraction between the two of us. I know that may be hard to believe looking at me now, but also I was 12 years younger and 12 years skinnier too. So we had an instant physical connection, and we knew immediately what we both wanted. And we went for it. And then we kept going for it again and again and again and again for the full 2 months. This is an important thing to realize. In longer term relationships or in dates that may turn into more serious relationships, those can be a little bit slower, maybe a little bit more spaced out on the physical sessions, if you will, the intimate times. But in these short-term relationships, physical is king. And this is what you need to be focusing on straight from the get-go. Because if you've identified the right situation, the right girl, the right type, the right time, all of that stuff, but you're not going for the physical part, she's going to replace you like that, man, because she is. And if she isn't, then you've misidentified something back here. So you should be going for it straight away, and you should be going for it early and go for it often. Absolutely. We call it BEBO. Bang early, bang often. Oh, man. Sometimes I crack myself up. Oh. So, because the physical connection is king, you should be starting that right from the moment you meet one another. If you feel that instant, serious physical attraction between the two of you, don't waste it. Don't worry about, oh, but what if she doesn't like me? Okay, then she'll tell you. What if she's not comfortable? Okay, then she'll tell you. And then you back off and then you cruise, right? That's fine. But you should be going for it early. And you should be pushing for it pretty hard, because the physical connection is going to be the glue that holds you together. That's also one of the reasons why this doesn't actually work for a serious long-term relationship, because if the only thing holding you together is just that link right there, then it's quite a weak link, right? So you need to be going for the physical side of things very seriously, because this is going to be what holds you two together. This is going to be the foundation for all of the other fun stuff that y'all are doing on the side, whether you're traveling, whether you're going to see musicals, or whether you're just sitting at home and binging your whole backlog on Netflix, or whatever it is that you both enjoy doing together. You're going to be doing that as a way to get to the physical part, basically. That's all that it is. It's like, this is the topping, the dressing. This is your main dish right here in these types of relationships. And you shouldn't treat it as anything else. It really is that important, which also means that you need to be offering her a one-way ticket to Pound Town. You need to be delivering in the bedroom. And if you're not sure how, practice more. Do it more. Just bang, bang, bang. Every single second that you can, every chance you have, y'all should be hooking up all the time. And look, if you're new to it, that's fine. Everybody's new at some point. If you don't know what you're doing, that's fine. Ask her. Try something and say, "What do you? Is that good? Do you like that? Yes, no, okay, cool. What do you like? Do you like something else? Okay, cool. Try it. Talk to her. Have fun with it, because, especially again in these short-term relationships, there's no judgment, there's no expectation of anything, there's no limits or anything. So you can go all in, and this can actually be a really good thing, especially for you young guys. I've had some young guys who've asked me about things like this, like, how do I get good at sex? And it's like, well, honestly, like, you just do it a bunch and figure out what you're doing right and what you're not, right? And then make changes. Well, how do you do it a bunch if you're not good at it? Find this kind of relationship. Find somebody who wants to hook up for about 2 months, 3 months maximum straight, and just bang all the time. Because in this kind of situation, you can go all the time and you can try a lot of different things. You can experiment. You can learn. She can teach you some things that she likes. You can teach her some things that you like. All of that fun stuff. Now, you might be in a situation where you find yourself in a short-term relationship with somebody who has more experience than you. Maybe you're a young guy and you end up hooking up with a cougar for a few months. Oh man, you are in for a treat, and you're going to learn a lot in that time period if that's the case. But if you're both young, you're both inexperienced, you're both kind of figuring it out, then yeah, just try it. Talk to each other. See what can happen there. But the physical part of this is the most important thing. Now, you also need to keep it exciting. It can't just be the same thing every time, but you need to be going out and trying new things. You need to be like in the bedroom, right? In the bedroom, you should be trying new positions. You should be talking to each other, saying, hey, is there anything that you've ever wanted to try? Do you have any fantasies? Do you have anything going on in your mind? Okay, cool, let's try that. Hey, I've always thought about doing this. Or if she shows up one day for Netflix and chill or whatever, and then you pull out some nurse costume or something that you bought at the sex shop or you bought on Amazon. Great. Use that. Absolutely. You should be going all out. Try a dozen things and then try a dozen more. Experiment, try a bunch of things. See what, maybe you have something that you've never tried before. You're not sure if you're going to like it or not. Perfect chance. Give it a go. But the important thing here is that you're keeping it exciting. You're keeping it fun. You're keeping it fresh. Because again, this is literally the glue that holds it all together for those couple of months. So you need to be going at it like bunnies and trying different things, keeping it fresh, keeping it exciting. The other thing that you need to do is be adventurous, be impulsive. Listen, that dark back alley that nobody's walking past, nobody's paying any attention, perfect. That rooftop up there where nobody can really see you from the street level, but you can see down and you can see the people, perfect. The back of the airplane, absolutely. Back of the bus, ooh, now you're getting kinky. Okay, cool. Absolutely. Go for it. You should absolutely be trying a million things. Be adventurous, be impulsive. Basically, you want to be the story that she refuses to ever tell her future husband about. That's what you're going for here, because that is the glue that's going to hold all of this together for those 2 or 3 months. All right, let's bring this up real quick. We've got a message here. Crow says, it's okay, Jack. We all know you're using J because you're dreaming about our future love affair. Listen, don't tell people that, because I started out the live stream by saying 12 years ago or 13 years ago, however long ago it was. Dude, you were in elementary school, okay? Don't make me Catholic tonight. All right, let's see here. We've got Z-Mag. Hey, man, discovered your website literally 4 days ago when searching stuff to do since I got myself on a business trip in Seoul, but I already found so much high value in your content. Just wanted to say thank you. Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. You're the one I just emailed like 30 minutes ago, right? Dude, welcome to the community. This is our newest member of the community. He just signed up like half an hour before the live stream. And so I shot him an email to join in for the live stream today. Awesome. Welcome. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the group. I'm glad you're liking the content so far. And once I finish this lesson, we'll go into the live Q&A and we'll be able to answer all your questions and stuff there. And if you're on a business trip in Seoul right now, then we're going to have a hangout this weekend as well. We'll talk to you more about that in the Discord, though. We can coordinate there. All right. So back to the story. As I was saying, Jay and I, we had a great time for a couple of months, but we burned very bright and we burned very fast. We spent all of our time together, all of our free time, all of the time while we were working, while we were playing, everything. We spent most nights together as well. We spent almost every weekend together. And after a couple of months, after the honeymoon phase was kind of starting to die down, and I knew what was happening, I still remember the moment that I knew it was over. She came over to my place and we hooked up, but there wasn't really any passion. It was almost like we were just doing it because that's just what you do. You come over to my place on Friday night, we hook up, and then we spend the day together Saturday. And then we woke up on Saturday morning and she was wearing my extra robe and no makeup on, hair all messy. And neither of us was feeling it. And we didn't really have to say anything. We both just knew in that moment. And we got up, showered up, got dressed, went out, grabbed some lunch, and then I walked her over to the subway station. And I gave her a hug, goodbye, and I sent her on her way. And we both knew. We didn't even say anything. We both just knew. That was it. It was over. The relationship had run its course. And that's okay. Now, neither of us was angry at one another. Neither of us was upset about the end of the relationship. In fact, we don't have any bad blood between us. Every now and then, we'll still chat. Maybe she'll send me a happy birthday message, or I'll send her a happy new year or something like that. It's rare, maybe once every 2 or 3 years, just check in. Hey, how's everything going? Yeah, it's good. I'm with my wife now. She's with a boyfriend of 10 years, something like that. Great. It's good. We both knew what it was and we let it end. And here's the thing is, it ended gracefully. It didn't end with a fight. It didn't end with her walking in on me balls deep in a nanny or something weird like that. It just ran its course and it was over. And we both knew. Now, it's not always that simple and that fucking Hallmarky. Like this sounds like a story from Hallmark special or something like that. It doesn't always work quite that easily and cleanly. But sometimes in these relationships, you're on some kind of a time limit. Like I mentioned before, maybe you're traveling, maybe she's traveling, maybe you're about to move, maybe she's about to move, something like that. Maybe your visa's about to end. Hold on. Oh, good. I was running on fumes there. So maybe you're on some kind of a time limit and you just already know. And your relationship can end quite similarly to how Jay and I ended ours, where you both just know this is over. Great. And we wish each other well, right? Or maybe it's a little bit loosely defined and it kind of just starts to fizzle out. Whatever the situation is, it's important that you recognize the end as it's starting to die down. Now, you'll know the end because you can kind of feel it, right? Especially, again, in the short-term relationships where you're dealing with a relationship so loose that literally your dick is the glue that keeps the two of you together, right? That's not really that deep of a relationship. That was not meant to be a small wiener joke, but it works better that way. But it's not that serious of a relationship. So it's going to fizzle out. It's going to peter out a little bit. It might start to go limp towards the end. And whenever it does, you just need to accept that. Understand that that's what it is. And there's nothing to be upset about. There's no hard feelings. Now, what might happen in these situations, something to be aware of, is that sometimes whenever girls get into situations like this and they can feel the relationship start to die down, then they might try to revive it by either springing some serious question on you or creating some kind of crazy drama to turn it into a roller coaster. That's especially a danger if you're dating one of the crazed lovers. They do this quite regularly, so do be careful of that. But if that's the case, whatever the situation is, you need to know the answer before she asks, before she comes to you with like the, hey, so do you actually love me? Or like, what is this? What are we? You need to know the answer beforehand. If she comes to you with some drama and she says like, oh my God, I'm so mad at you. That's it. I'm so mad at you. You have to fight me and then we have to get back together and then have breakup and then make up sex and da-da-da-da-da. You need to know the answer beforehand. And if it's already dying, you should already have your bag packed, ready to walk, ready to cruise. Now, not every girl's going to do this, right? But you need to be prepared for if they do. You need to know your answer before they ask the question or before they bring you that situation. Know that you're ready to walk because it's over. It's done. The time is up. That's all that she wrote. And so you know that answer and you stick to it. But ideally, you can end this on a positive note, right? Ideally, you can end this on a positive note, whether that means letting things just kind of fizzle out, like Jay and I did, where we just stopped messaging each other. We stopped hanging out. And that might happen a little bit slower over time as well. That's also something you can do where you go from hanging out 3 times a week to hanging out once a week to, I'm really quite busy this week, maybe next week. And then it just kind of dies out on its own. That can happen. And when that happens, it's fine, right? You can still stay somewhat in touch loosely, but not in a rush, right? Because you're not trying to transition her off of the short-term relationship onto a friends with benefits relationship. While you can possibly do that, that's not necessarily the goal, especially not if you've been following my advice of burning bright and burning fast, because then it's going to make it a lot harder to actually make that transition smoothly. But getting off of the short-term relationship and just giving it room to breathe, making sure that both of you got what you wanted out of it. You know what it is, right? We both knew what this was from the get-go. It's been a lot of fun. There's no hard feelings, right? I'm not upset. This just isn't really a good fit for a serious long-term relationship. God damn it, Jermaine. I know. I was thinking that too. And then I was going through some of the situations, the drama that a girl might bring up. And then I look down and Jermaine has, in all caps, shouted out, "Or get pregnant." Yes, or get pregnant, right? She might try to fake a pregnancy, or she might try to actually get pregnant. Be very careful with that. Be very careful with that, especially as you start to see the relationship kind of start to dwindle. Listen, guys. Listen, guys. First of all, if you're not wrapping it up, you should be, especially with these types of girls. You should be. And the trash can is not a safe enough place for your used rubbers, right? You need to be disposing of them completely in a way that she cannot get to, okay? You figure out what that is. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your used Johnnies. You're a smart boy. You're a big boy. You can figure this out, okay? Now, like I said, you're trying to end this on a positive note. End it so that you're both kind of happy. It's like you're going for like a bittersweet, like it's drizzling rain outside kind of feeling. It's not pouring. It's not miserable. It's just like well, it was fun while it lasted, and I'm sad that it's over, but it is. Now, on to the next chapter. We can talk more later. We can catch up sometimes. Maybe we can hang out later. It'll be a good time, right? We can still stay, kind of friends. Friends is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, right? And then you let it go. And this is an important part. If you want to bring it back and turn it into a friends with benefits kind of thing, you need to let that breathe for a little bit before you try to bring it back in. You don't want to jump straight into it, especially if you've been burning bright and burning fast, because she's going to feel that kind of abrupt halt from, oh my God, he's been paying attention to me. He's been loving on me all the time. And then now he just wants to hang out and just like bang for 2 hours and then kick me out every Saturday night or whatever. Like, you don't want that pullback response there. You don't want that. You want time for it to breathe before you can turn it into some kind of a regular hookup kind of thing, which you can do later. And it's possible as well that you can reconnect with them, especially if it's, like I said earlier, if it's a traveling thing, if it's a moving thing or whatever it is, then whenever the situation does bring you two back around to the same place at the same time or whatever, then yeah, you can talk again, you can hang out, you can hook up, all of that stuff, because you've already set the foundations with one another. You already know what it is. First of all, she knows that you can deliver because you did for months on end. Well done, you. And she knows that you can do this without too much attachment, which is very important. And here's another little side bonus, by the way. This is a thing that girls are far more likely to hook up with somebody who they've already hooked up with in the past because it doesn't increase their body count numbers. Now, while girls will tell you, oh, body count, oh, you're such a misogynist. No girls actually care about that. Nobody actually keeps track. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And if hooking up with you means she gets all this stuff, but guaranteed, and she doesn't have to increase her body count number, oh, you have a much better chance than if you had just met her randomly. So there's a good chance that you'll be able to hook up again in the future and have future encounters, or turn her into some kind of a friends with benefit, or create something together where whenever you happen to be in town, then hey, you can go and hook up together. But that is not how the story ended for Jay and I. Jay and I, after we stopped meeting each other and stopped hanging out, we never hooked up again. We never went on another date. We never turned into friends with benefits or anything like that. There were other girls who I did that with, but not with Jay. With her, things just ended. And while that relationship, that 2 months was a ton of fun, and we both had a great time together, and we enjoyed all of it, it also was all of it. There was nothing left to explore. There was nothing left to find out. There was nothing left to share, to get from one another. So we were done. And we never did hang out again. Actually, I don't think I ever even saw her in person again. But every now and then we do still talk. We are still on good terms. Nobody's upset with anybody. And you can create your own perfect short-term relationship by following these steps and by learning about the story of Jack and Jay, not the ones who went up the hill, right? That's a different one. But if any of that was fun, entertaining, edifying, interesting, educational, or just stupid, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up. It really does help the algorithm. It helps me a lot. It helps us to grow and to find more people, to spread our message far and wide so that everybody can enjoy the wonders that is Live with Jack. Now, with all that said, it's time for us to move on to everybody's favorite part of the week, which is the live Q&A section. So I'm going to actually turn off this recording because we're not going to use that. Oh, let me give a quick little outro. So until next time, Papa Jack out. That's not for you. I'm still here for you guys. Don't worry. I just had to do that for the recording. All right, let's get our buddy Antonio up in this bitch. Antonio, how are you doing, man?
All good. What's up, Jack?
Hey, you good?
Yep.
Awesome. Ooh. All right.
Okay. Today we have a lot of questions to discuss about.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
got some questions today.
All right. So
your volume a little bit. All right. Cool. Go ahead.
So this,
jump straight into it.
Sure. This one is pretty interesting. What do you do when you run into a girl you previously had SDR with? For example, you smash a girl from a bar, have a fling with her for a while, and then you run into her again, maybe even multiple times a few months later. Do you ignore and avoid or try to rekindle the flame? How does that work? Maybe even tips for avoiding awkwardness.
I never try to avoid. Always embrace the situation, right? Whenever I've run into girls that I've hooked up with before, I'm always just like, oh, hey, stranger, long time no see. How have you been? Oh, come here. And then I give them a hug. Like, I lean into it. I own it 100%. Now, I don't say, oh, let me bring my microphone down here. I don't say anything, right? I'm not out there saying like, oh, hey, I know what you look like naked, right? Like, don't be a weirdo about it.
Yeah.
But just basically treat them like you're running into an old friend that you haven't seen in a while. And then if anybody asks like, oh, how do you guys know each other? Oh, listen, we go way back, you know, and you can tell the truth if you want. You can say, oh yeah, we met at this bar months ago and, you know, we hit it off and things, you know, we knew that we were going to be instant besties or whatever. Or you can make up a story. You can tell something. Oh man, listen, she and I go way back. Let me tell you a story. Back in second grade, I was surrounded by this group of pigeons who were all trying to steal my lunch sandwich. And then she came over and scared them away by acting like a tiger. She saved my sandwich that day. And ever since then, we've just been the best of friends, right? Just make shit up, you know, whatever.
What if you leave her on bad terms? You know, maybe something happens during the relationship, or you know.
If you broke up on bad terms, nothing changes. Yeah, I would still do the same thing. Hey, stranger, long time no see. How have you been? And then go in for a hug. Right now, if she gets angry, if she's like, "Oh, get away from me," be like, "Oh shit, you're still mad about that thing? Okay, my bad. No problem. Have a good night. Later." That's still the best way, because then there's no like, "Oh, I wonder if she's noticed me. I wonder if he's noticed me." There's none of that stuff. You're with situations like this. The biggest cost is not the conversation or the awkwardness or anything like that. The biggest cost is your anxiety cost, that you're worried, you're thinking about it. Oh, what does she think? Or is she here with a boyfriend? Or does she know that I'm da da da? All of that goes away once you just address the issue. So you just go in, you just say hi, energetic, happy, right? You're happy to see them, right? Even if you're not, you're happy to see them. And then whatever they choose to respond with, that's fine. That's on them. That's their choice. But now you lose all of that anxiety in your head. You don't worry about, oh, what is she thinking? Or I wonder if she's seen me, or like, oh man, does she know that I got fat? Or like, oh wow, she got fat, or whatever. All of that stuff is gone, and she doesn't take up any more space in your mind. So yeah, a girl you used to hook up with, you run into her, go into it, right? Lean in hard.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's a good tip. I remember a girl giving me a side eye long time ago just because, you know, we left on bad terms and stuff. Every time I like meet her, like with a group of her friends or stuff, she'd be like this because I actually kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Let's see.
In a situation like that, lean into it, right? Like I would just say, like, oh hey, you know, it's this is gonna seem weird, right? First of all, yeah, it's been a long time. Like it's good to see you, right? But have you talked to a doctor yet? Because you really should. That side eye of yours looks like it might be a condition. Are you okay? Right? Like I absolutely like lean in,
It's good.
in.
Don't give a fuck like a kind of attitude fixes everything.
Call it out for what it is, right? Because listen, in a situation like that, if a situation is awkward, it's only awkward if somebody makes it awkward. Now, if you don't make it awkward, then she's the one being awkward and she feels weird. If you look comfortable, you look confident, you look like you don't give a shit, then she's going to feel like a real asshole if she's like, oh, but I'm holding a grudge. Like, fuck that guy. Good. Let her, right?
Yeah, all right. Let's see. For a second question, we have, if you're casually seeing a girl, how often do you need to see her to keep her interested? That's
If you're casually seeing a girl, how
how
often?
often do you need to see her to keep her interested? Like how many times?
You need to see her. Okay. By the way, guys, before I answer this, if you guys who are watching, if y'all have questions, you can type them into the chat and I'll answer those as well. How often do you need to see a girl? As often as you want. As often as you want. That's the only real answer here. Like in the story that I told, Jay and I were hanging out together almost every day, right? But that was because that's what we both wanted. We were going out traveling almost every weekend, but that's because that's what we both wanted. If you find yourself in a relationship where she wants to hang out more often than you do, then push back, right? Like, oh, sorry, I can't hang out that much. I have responsibilities, or like, I'm sorry, I just need alone time. I'm just like an introverted person and I need more time to recharge every week or whatever. Like, doesn't matter. So as much as you want to is the only thing. As a minimum though, if you're in a casual relationship that is monogamous, I would say minimum you need to see each other once every other week. So once every 2 weeks would be the minimum to keep that up. But if y'all are just like fuck buddies, then it literally doesn't matter, right? It's just booty calls. And then every booty call is the last booty call until the next one. And then that's the last one until the next one, right? That's it.
What would you say is the best? Okay, let's say we had you like this girl and you hanged out like a couple of times or so. What do you feel like is the best moment to approach her sexually speaking, right? Maybe you want to have intercourse with this girl, but you don't feel like either maybe it's the relationship is not there yet, or maybe you feel like the relationship could be there yet, but you don't know how to make the first move?
You should be, when you're hanging out together, you should be physically escalating the whole time, right? This is just like basic dating etiquette for physical escalation. You're light touching at the beginning, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, something like that, and you're getting progressively more and more, and see how she reacts to it, right? Because like if you touch her shoulder and she pulls away, okay, she's not into it, right? And you can slow down and then try again a little bit later. Or if she's really angry about it, you can stop altogether. Or if you find yourself in a situation where like you touch her shoulder and she leans in a little bit, then like, okay, she's asking for more. Great. Just physical escalation the whole way through. And then you take it to the end of whatever situation that's like, hey, let's get out of here. Cool. That's it. That's all that it takes. And then you go back to your place.
All right.
Or her place, whatever.
That third question is actually, when a girl is dating a guy just for fun versus seriously, how do her expectations / behavior differ? Yeah. Like when a girl wants to date a guy seriously, or / versus when she just wants to have fun with him, how does she differ in her action? How does she act differently? Does she have different, ways to act or something like that?
She's wearing a different mask. Like, okay, so in my story, I told you I met Jay out at a beach party, right? Where everybody went out to the beach together. Everybody got shit-faced. We were all dancing together on the beach. Everybody's in swimsuits. Like there's a DJ playing. There are torches out there on the beach. So everyone's fucked up. We're all having fun. Even the good girls who go out to that party don't wear their good girl mask out there, right? They're wearing, now their version of the party girl mask might be a lot tamer than some of the other girls. That's fine, but she's still putting on a different version of herself in those situations. She's going to be more open about herself, about what she's into, not like interests and hobbies, not that, but she's going to be more open, more receptive. She's going to basically welcome all comers if she finds them attractive, right? Anybody who she feels like she could have a connection with, she's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see what you've got. Shoot your shot. Absolutely. Where in another setting, that same girl might have defenses up, like, oh, no, I can't, no, not now. I can't deal with this, whatever. She's wearing a different mask. She's showing a different side of herself. Now, the girl in this story, Jay, she's a really serious girl. She's a really like, she's probably like 70% worker bee type. But when I met her out on the beach, I wouldn't have known that. And also I didn't know the types then, right? Because I made up the types, but I made them later, right? Anyway, so when she was out there on the beach, she wasn't wearing her worker bee mask, her normal mask. She was a different version of herself out there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And you can tell, you can feel it.
Yeah, the problem is that you will have to be close to that girl long time enough to understand if she's putting a mask on or not.
No, you don't. If you meet the kind of girl who's looking for these types of relationships, she will be wearing that mask no matter where she is, right? So if you go to let's say a language exchange group, because this is something that I advise often for people who are looking for like shy girls or prudes or something like that. I'll advise them to go to language exchange groups because they're great for that. But also, you'll find some girls who are like, yeah, I just want to practice English because I'm moving to England for a working holiday in 3 months. She's literally advertising that she's available for a short-term relationship for 3 months, right? So those girls, regardless of where they are going to be wearing that mask, that version of themselves that's open to it. Now, if you're looking for a short-term relationship and you want to try to find that kind of girl who's open to it, then go to the places where those are more likely, right? Go to the beach parties, go to the bars, go to the farewell parties for friends who are leaving the country or whatever else. Because if one friend is leaving the country, then it's much more likely that more of their friends are also planning to leave the country soon, right? Like, because birds of a feather and all that. So find those situations where those types of girls are more likely to be and are probably wearing that mask. And that's how you'll find them.
So basically, you'd say it's actually a sure that they have that mask on. And another question that I have is, how do you think is the best approach to make the girl like take off that mask and be more comfortable with you around? You know, maybe expose.
I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. What I mean by mask is, I mean the version of herself that she chooses to show.
That's what I think.
Right. So that never goes away. Right?
Oh.
Like here's the thing is that like no matter how long you're together with somebody, there's still a part of yourself that you aren't showing them. Not that you're necessarily hiding it, but that it's just like, why would I, like, this is not part of this relationship. For example, I love classical music. And especially whenever I get drunk, I like to just sit around and listen to like classical symphony, not actually classical, romantic usually. But I listen to these symphonies and I just get really into it. I don't fucking talk to my wife about it because she doesn't care, right? So like there is a part of me that I'm not actively showing her. Now, I'm not hiding it. She knows that that exists, but I don't need to bring it up. I don't need to talk about it. And so same thing here. That's what I mean by mask is the parts of herself that she chooses to highlight and to show you. That's different if she's looking for a serious relationship versus she's looking for hookups, short-term, flings, things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Let's see. Fourth question. What does it mean if a girl never really initiates any text combos, but if I invite her out, she's quick to respond or agree? She might be testing.
Repeat that a little bit slower. I can't hear you well.
Oh yeah. What does it mean if a girl never really initiates any text combos, but if I invited her out, she's quick to respond or agree? Like she never replies, but she never replies to my texts or initiates conversation basically. But when I tell her, hey, when I hang out, she immediately agrees to it.
Great. Like, okay, what does it mean? Who cares? Right? It could mean seriously, right? Like it could mean a million different things. It could mean she's busy with work or with school or whatever. It could mean she's the kind of person who just doesn't really use her phone very much. It could mean she's so popular that she's always answering messages. It could mean that she's worried about pushing you too hard, so she doesn't want to start any conversations. It could mean fucking anything. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is the result. And the result is she doesn't bother you, but every time that you want to hang out and hook up, she says yes quickly. Great.
Could girls, do that test you in some sort of way when they don't reply to text, or That just doesn't happen.
Again, who cares? So let me quick side note here. Whenever a girl is testing you, whenever she's giving you shit tests, all that
Mm.
it is she's saying, hey, you are acting this way. You're acting like a guy who's cool and confident and funny. And now I'm going to poke at your armor to see if it's real. Now, if the way that you're acting is real, if it's congruent, if it's really who you are and what you think and how you feel, then you'll never fail a single shit test in your life. Your answers might turn some girls off, but that's okay too, right? So, will girls test you by messaging you or by not messaging you or by responding quicker or responding slower? Yes, maybe. But again, who cares, right? All that matters is the end result. And if you're in a situation like you described, the end result is already amazing, right? So it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, it actually really doesn't, I think, honestly. Let's see. Fifth question. If you want to stay in the short-term casual relationship space, how can you prevent a girl from wanting it to be more serious or official?
Um,
That
the
really happens all the way around, guys, girls, honestly, I think.
You need to know the answer before she asks you. Know your boundaries before she pushes them. Just like I was saying in the lesson, if you already know, like, okay, look, I like hanging out with her, I like hooking up with her, but I'm getting so much feedback. Can you turn the volume down on your laptop a little bit?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because I think that my sound is catching in your microphone and coming back.
All right, is
Okay.
this better? Oh,
Yeah, maybe. No, but
no?
whatever.
All right.
It's still there, but I think we'll be okay. Anyway, so all the stuff that I was talking about in here, know where your boundaries are. So if you're in a situation where you're like, look, I'm not going to go to any weddings. I'm not going to go to anything that I don't actively want to go to. I'm not going to hang out with her in public. If that's your boundary, then okay, cool. If your boundary is she can come over anytime, but she can't stay the night here, then okay, cool. That's your boundary. Set it. And then if she tries to push it, say, hey, no, look, that's not what this is, right? We're not going to do that. Know what your boundaries are before you get there and just express what your boundaries are. Just tell her what they are. It doesn't have to be an asshole thing. It's just like oh, hey, sorry, but I don't let anybody sleep at my place. Like, it's a weird thing. It's just, my personal rules. So sorry, like, you can't stay, but I'll pay for your cab home, right? Like, it'll be fine. And then we can hang out again next time, whatever. Know what your boundaries are and then enforce those boundaries. Now, the important thing here is that as long as she knows what the boundaries are, she can choose whether she wants to continue the relationship in the terms that you have set or not. And if she's trying to push for more and you're still holding strong on your boundaries, then it's like, okay, cool. I mean, like, you can keep asking me to go do these things or to be your boyfriend or whatever else, but I'm not going to. But if you're cool with like us keeping on the way we are, I'm fine with it. You know what your boundaries are before she asks, before she pushes them. Same thing. If she asks you for like, oh, I want this to be a relationship, I want to be boyfriend and girlfriend, but that's not what you want, then you need to know that. And you need to know your answer before she asks. So whenever she says like, so what are we? Are you my boyfriend? You my boyfriend, huh? Then you know the answer to that. And you're like, that's a really strong word. I am a man. I'll tell you what, I'll be your man friend. How about that? I'll be your man friend, right? And you can like play with it, right? Have fun with it, but know your answer before she asks, right? Know your boundaries. That's the best advice that I can give on preventing that relationship creep, on preventing her from trying to turn it into more. Ideally, you both know what it is, right? Like at the moment. But if you don't, or if you do and she doesn't, know the answer to the questions before she asks them.
Yeah,
Cool.
all right. That's a good point.
Awesome.
Then this question here: do the guys on the panel prefer short-term relationships or long-term relationships?
Yes. Hey,
Yes.
what about you, Antonio? Let's go with you.
Gotta be honest, I prefer longer-term relationships. I always prefer longer-term relationships, honestly. But I wouldn't mind, honestly, with a casual, short-term relationship sometimes, but I go for longer ones.
Sure. Yeah. Look, in my experience, short-term relationships, they can be a lot of fun, and they're great whenever you're traveling, or like I said, whenever you're unstable, whenever you don't know what's coming up soon, or whatever else. Like, there's a time when short-term relationships are great, but as far as like return on investment, what do you get out for what you put in? Long-term relationships are much better. Long-term relationships have a compounding factor where each investment that you make over time, it grows to give you more and more and more and more. And so honestly, like I think that there's a lot more value in long-term relationships. And I think that I generally talk more about creating, maintaining, finding long-term relationships. In most of my content, that's what I'm talking about. The reason I mostly talk about that is because most content out there is so focused on short-term relationships that I'm just offering a balance. But the reality is that I've lived with a lot of both. And so there is a great time for each, and neither of them is necessarily better or worse than the other. It depends on who you are, where you are in your life, what it is you're looking for, what you need, what your personal shortcomings are, where is the hole in your soul that you're trying to fill, because everybody's trying to fill some kind of hole inside themselves. And no, I'm not even talking about like dirty wise. I just mean like literally everybody has something that's missing from them that they're trying to fill. And for some people, that's like a serious, long-term, monogamous, committed relationship. And for some people, that's like, no, listen, like I'm totally all set on the emotional front, or just like, I don't know, I have no emotions. I don't give a shit. I just want to get my dick wet as much as possible. Okay, cool. There's nothing necessarily wrong with either of those. It's different on the person, on your time of life, on your situation, on all of that stuff. But you need to be honest with yourself about where you are, what you're looking for, and what you need. And that will answer your question about which one's better for you at that moment.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we have the last question. What type of girl is best for a short-term relationship? Oh, let's see.
Okay.
What do you think?
The types that are best for short-term relationships, if you're talking one-night stands, definitely sluts. Like, definitely sluts. There's not even any competition. Alcoholics come in a distant second for one-night stands, but sluts are absolutely on the top of the pile for those. But now for flings or for short-term relationships, like I said in the lesson, crazed lovers can be great for this. Crazed lovers are best for short-term relationships, like not better than the other types. I mean, that's the best version of themselves. Because if you date them for longer than 3 months, they'll dig their claws in too deep, and you can't untangle yourself without a shitload of drama and problems. But like I said earlier, the cheater, great for short-term relationships, high adventure, high energy, really active, love them. And also, they're fucking freaks in the bedroom, which is great. Alcoholics are great for short-term relationships, and for longer-term casual relationships, like a longer term friends with benefits kind of thing, where it's just like once every few weeks or so, like, hey, what are you doing? Let's go get drinks. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm down for drinks. Cool. And you go get drinks and then you hook up. Like, they can be great for short-term relationships. They can be great for those flings, for things like that. They can be a lot of fun there. Honestly, depending on your situation and where you are, gold diggers or materialists can also be really good for short-term relationships, right? Like, look, if you come to Korea, gold diggers won't be interested in you. But if you go to the Philippines, gold diggers love you, right? And so if you're in the right situation where just by doing the things you normally do, it would attract gold diggers, then look, gold diggers can make great short-term relationship partners. There's a lot of fun to be had there, right? Same thing with materialists. But materialists might ask you to actually buy them stuff. And so maybe not, right? Depending on the situation. Friend type.
What's your favorite type of girl?
Huh?
What's your favorite type of girl?
My favorite type of girl, like for me personally, I love worker bees. I love worker bees. And the reason I love worker bees is because they're low maintenance as fuck. Because they're always busy with stuff, right? And they have all their own stuff going on all the time. They're super low maintenance. They don't bother me to like do stuff. And so just we hang out whenever we can. Also, my style works really well with them because, like I said earlier, most people are looking for a relationship to fill some part of themselves that they feel is missing. For worker bees, that thing that's missing is fun, is like happiness, and like that joie de vivre, that love of life that they've lost from working too much. And then I rock up in my fucking pink hat and I'm like, what's up? Who wants to party? And like, okay, cool. They can like me and respect me for the fact that, yeah, I work a lot. I run my own business. I do all, but also I bring the fun. I bring the excitement. I'm like, look, steak dinner. Anybody can take you for a steak dinner. I'm going to take you for fucking ice cream. When was the last time you went for ice cream? Okay. And I'm going to get you that little rainbow colored one too. And just like kind of childlike energy that I bring. They love that. And so, yeah, worker bees and I, we mix perfectly. It's good.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I don't know about myself, honestly.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, either worker bees or I'm fine also with prudes, honestly. Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like since I'm more inclined for longer, kind of term of relationships. I think like these two are actually the best for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, you should what you should actually make a poll on your group chat on the group of all the guys and see what is the most liked kind of girl favorite types of girl and stuff.
Favorite type. It would certainly be interesting. You know what? We might do that later this week. We might run a poll in there and let everybody pick their favorite types.
I can already see the comments. Anyone?
But the reality is that, look, I'm 37 and I've literally dated every one of these types of women. So for me, I can actually say, oh yeah, these types are my favorites, or like, oh, these types like me more and we get along because these reasons, whatever. You don't need to know who your favorite is yet because you're just kind of guessing, right? At your age, you're just like, well, based on my experience so far, this is who I like. This is who I think I would like for this kind of relationship and stuff like that. So it's okay. Don't feel any pressure. Like, you don't need to know the perfect type for you yet. You're still figuring that out, and that's okay.
Yeah, no.
All right, now, guys in the chat, if y'all have any more questions, now is the time to type them in. Otherwise, we're probably going to wrap up in a minute. I think that there was one other question up at the very top. Can you scroll back up to the very top of the questions that I sent you?
Get pregnant.
What?
The top comment says get pregnant. So
No, not the comments, not the comments. In the message that I sent you, like where I put all the questions together.
No, I actually asked everything.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually, yeah, I asked you this question as the very first question. It was the what to do when you run into a world where you previously had STR with question. When you smash a girl from the bar and stuff multiple times, what happens when you see her again? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well then, I think that is the end of our questions, and that also, gentlemen, means that this is the end of our stream. So, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Very special thank you to Antonio. Thank you for joining tonight, and to ZMAC for joining the community today. First-time listener and first-time caller as well. Glad to have you here as part of the group. And I'll talk to you in the Discord, man. And for the rest of you guys, I'll see you next week. So until then, Papa Jack out.